Anyone familiar with corruption? A single officer in KZN turned down a bribe that could have made headlines for all the wrong reasons. Integrity, in a system where shortcuts often rule, became visible in one bold act. The Youth Ngathi station commander faced temptation few could resist, and his refusal created ripples far beyond the station walls. The moment itself was quiet, almost mundane, but its consequences were anything but ordinary. Citizens, colleagues, and media outlets alike began to notice that ethics still exist where they are least expected. The story unfolds as a rare beacon of accountability. The province's police boss publicly praised the commander, a move that carried symbolic weight as much as recognition. Suddenly, what might have been an internal, unremarkable decision became a public statement. People across the community celebrated the act, discussing what it meant for trust in law enforcement. Questions about accountability, transparency, and courage filled conversations that had long been dominated by cynicism. This was more than one officer saying no. It was a challenge to the entire culture of corruption that many assumed unchangeable. Consider the temptation itself. A briefcase, quietly placed, money stacked neatly, eyes averted. The room held tension that could be felt by anyone who entered. Observers later described the scene as surreal, a test of morality played out in real time. The refusal was not dramatic or shouted. It was calm, deliberate, and absolute. Colleagues whispered, unsure how to react, and the bribe's source reportedly left shocked, realizing ethical conduct could still exist. That quiet decision, small in its setting, became monumental in meaning. One officer recalled facing a similar moment early in his career, tempted by offers that could change his personal circumstances. Seeing the commander's refusal reframed everything, turning abstract ethics into concrete example. Leadership, he realized, was less about authority and more about modeling behavior. Everyday choices gained weight, morality became tangible. Stories like these, passed informally through corridors, create subtle shifts in culture that training manuals cannot achieve. The ripple effect was immediate. Discussions of honesty, accountability, and integrity began to permeate routine station interactions. Why does someone resist when all signals point to gain? In Youth Ngathi, discipline, principle, and loyalty to community combine to form a moral compass stronger than temptation. Social psychologists note that role models visible in daily life influence organizational behavior more than rules or audits. The commander's action became a touchstone, showing that standing firm could inspire a team, encourage reflection, and even influence public perception. Ethical courage, it seemed, could multiply silently across observers and peers. The KZN police boss amplified the story beyond the precinct. By publicizing the act, he framed it as a statement of values. Honesty will not go unnoticed. National media highlighted the incident as a rare triumph against corruption, giving citizens a moment of optimism. Analysts speculated that celebrating ethical behavior could encourage other officers to resist temptation, subtly shifting norms. The combination of courage and recognition transformed a small event into a broader conversation about accountability and trust in law enforcement. Could one refusal catalyze change? Conversations erupted about recognition programs, ethical awards, and formal mentorship. Officers debated whether visibility alone could counter systemic corruption or if institutional reforms were required. Social media became a platform for citizens to applaud integrity, and public forums discussed new ways to encourage ethical policing. The ripple effect extended far beyond the original incident, influencing colleagues, supervisors, and the broader community alike. During a routine briefing, whispers of the incident circulated quietly among officers, admiration barely contained. Stories transformed into informal lessons in courage and integrity. Every radio interaction and report seemed imbued with the weight of that one ethical choice. Habits, previously unquestioned, were now examined in light of the commander's decision. A single bribe left untouched had already left a lasting imprint, influencing perceptions, morale, and the culture of the station itself. Months passed, yet the story retained its power. Officers continued referencing the incident as a turning point, reflecting on accountability and personal choice. Discussions about integrity became a staple during trainings, shaping future approaches to policing. Public perception shifted incrementally, with citizens noting rare instances of principled behavior in law enforcement. The ripple effect persisted quietly but steadily, a testament to how one moment of courage can echo long after the act itself. The cultural impact became tangible as colleagues internalized the significance of visible ethical behavior. Conversations about honesty and responsibility replaced cynical assumptions. Junior officers observed the commander as a living benchmark, and informal mentoring took root. Across departments, discussions began on how to replicate such visible integrity in everyday decision-making. The incident underscored a profound truth. Leadership is often measured by actions, not words, and ethical courage sets a precedent that policy alone cannot. As the months continued, public acknowledgement amplified the story further. Community members cited the commander as a symbol of hope, a rare example of principled leadership. The narrative traveled beyond precinct boundaries, prompting workshops and community forums focused on accountability. Ordinary moments, once overlooked, gained weight, illustrating the profound effect of one officer's choice to act ethically. Discussions of morality, courage, and public trust became intertwined with daily policing routines, reinforcing the idea that integrity is contagious. Psychologists point to the moral ripple effect, the idea that one act can indirectly influence dozens. In KZN, the refusal resonated not only among officers, but also with the public, journalists, and analysts. Ethical conduct, once isolated, became part of the narrative for what policing could aspire to be. The ripple reached broader conversations about reform, demonstrating how singular acts of courage can inspire systemic reflection. The commander himself reflected that pride in resisting temptation was not personal gain but responsibility. His colleagues noted the tone shift within the station. Dialogue about ethics grew more candid, more urgent. Ethical conduct was no longer theoretical. It was practiced, observed, and internalized. Every choice became a reflection of broader principles, affecting team dynamics, morale, and public trust. By highlighting the incident, leadership emphasized that accountability and integrity are measurable, recognized, and valued. Formal policies began to consider recognition as a motivator, and officers realized their decisions had tangible impact. The story became a benchmark for evaluating behavior, shaping daily choices, and inspiring colleagues to adhere to high ethical standards. Even in community outreach, the tale resurfaced repeatedly. Residents cited it as evidence that police could act honorably, that courage and principle were possible. The story became a shared narrative, reinforcing trust and reshaping expectations. Public perception began to acknowledge the power of principled behavior over corruption, subtly influencing relationships between law enforcement and citizens. Integrity proved contagious. One officer's refusal created a cultural shift, influencing colleagues, community sentiment, and internal discussions about reform. Ethical courage became a touchstone for leadership, demonstrating that visible role models matter as much as policy and procedure. Habits, routines, and decisions began reflecting principles that, until then, were theoretical or aspirational. The KZN incident offers a blueprint. When ethical choices are visible, celebrated, and discussed, their impact multiplies. Leadership, mentorship, and recognition converge to transform isolated acts into organizational norms. Across the precinct, one refusal continues to echo in choices, conversations, and community interactions. The story of the Youth and Gathi station commander reminds everyone that integrity is both observable and influential, proving that principled decisions resonate far beyond the moment.